Welcome to Movies with Reid. So in this show, we'll basically be talking about different shows and movies that we've liked all throughout Mr. Reid's classes and throughout also our time in Swampscott High School. My name is Kyle Spear. I'm a senior here.
I'm Joseph Ford. I'm also a senior here.
And I'm Tom Reid. I teach media literacy at Swampscott High School.
And the first movie we're going to be showing is Three Idiots. It's a Bollywood film about three college students and their whole experience in college, and they go on a whole crazy adventure. But Mr. Reid will be able to give you a more in-depth analysis of the movie.
Sure. It's a 2009 film. It's one of the most popular films I show my students, which is particularly impressive because it's in a mixture of Indian and English languages, Hindi and English. But they get used to it pretty quickly, read the subtitles. And one thing I like about it, a lot of my favorite films and films that work well for students, is that it has a mixture of emotions as well as ideas. Sometimes it's a comedy, even a very silly comedy at times. Other times it's got a really dramatic story. It's got some sad scenes, it's got some song and dance, and it's got some romance. So I think there's a lot to like in the film, as well as some good messages for young people.
Yeah, so we can cut to clip 1 here, and it'll show us even an in-depth explanation of the plot.
मदिरा पियोगे? ये वो ही रम है ना जो तुम लोग यहाँ पीते थे? Have a drink.
अरे रैंचो कहाँ है यार?
बताता हूँ. पहले ये देखो. मेरे वाइफ को ना उसके पीछे का बंगला देखो, idiots. 3.5 million. Swimming pool, heated. Living room, maple wood flooring. My new Lamborghini 6496cc. Very fast.
अबे, हमें क्यों दिखा रहा है ये सब?
भूल गए? ये क्या है?
5 सितंबर, आज का डेट और क्या है यार?
चल लगा बैठ. 10 साल के बाद वापस आएंगे यहीं पे, आज एक ही दिन देखेंगे कौन ज्यादा सक्सेसफुल है. हे हिम्मत बोल.
So how would you explain that clip?
So I would explain that. So the guy with the phone and the glasses is Shatur. He's not really friends with the other two. The other two are Rahu and Farhan. And so a long time ago when they were in college, this shot takes place 30 years after they graduate. And Shatur and Rancho, who is not present, they made a bet and who would be more successful later in their lives, because Shatur was always trying to be the best in the class, and Rancho would always be better than him, but he wanted to prove that he could be better than Rancho. And this is the point where they were supposed to meet for their bet, but Rancho is nowhere to be seen, and everyone's confused, and Silencer's convinced that Rancho just gave up or is doing something terrible with his life. I don't know.
Yeah, and I would build on that to say that they're 30 years old, but it's 10 years later, but they're 30 years
10
old.
years later.
But I think that's why you thought 30. And the plot starts with this like question: where's Rancho? He's gone, and where his two old friends want to find him. But I like that you focused on Shatur here, because he represents a whole different attitude from Rancho. There's a kind of spectrum. Shatur follows all the rules. He's kind of a brown-noser to his teachers. He wants to be number one. He thinks the only way to succeed is to work hard, but also he like sort of cheats and distracts other students so his grades will be higher. And he thinks that if he gets the best job and he'll have the most money, he'll be happy. But Rancho, whom you'll see in a minute in the flashbacks, Rancho has another way to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this opening clip here that describes the plot is kind of really goofy and humorous, and it kind of overall describes how the movie goes. And as we're kind of looking at it and describing how we see the movie, it's how a lot of people end up viewing the movie as sort of really funny and humorous that go alongside with many of the themes that we contrast from this film.
Yeah, when he's like, "Welcome, idiots."
Yeah, I know that's a really funny.
So the next clip is going to be All Is Well, right?
Yep, yep.
It's sort of and the musical scenes are a part of the tradition of Indian films, but they do advance the plot. In this one, you're going to hear more about Rancho's philosophy of life and how to stay calm and accept what's happening, and as I said, be happy.
So first, what was your guys' overall reactions of the film? Because I know I have some contrasting viewpoints, so I wanted to first think what you guys thought of the film.
So my first time watching this film was in Mr. Reid's class when I was a freshman. I was in Intro to Media Lit, and I loved the movie. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it had great storytelling. I love the characters. I liked everything about it. I didn't have any complaints about it at all. And I wanted to show it to my friends so they could enjoy it too. And
But you had a different opinion, huh?
Yeah.
Which I like. That's what we
Yeah.
do. We discuss our different perspectives.
Yeah, as I think as I've kind of grown as a student of media literacy in your classes, I've kind of learned to not accept like the general viewpoint of what we try and think of as like a standard opinion, or as like in your class, even if kids say one general viewpoint, maybe if I didn't like the film, I'm not scared to kind of speak out and not really like the film. And this was one of the films that I didn't really think was like the best film, because for me, I don't know, I really like kind of more serious movies and not like a kind of goofy, humorous, really like talking movie. But I don't know, there were some scenes in this movie that I really did like as we'll see, the All Is Well scene. That was a musical scene that I really did enjoy because of all like the humor and kind of talking, and that really I did like. But overall, in the general sense of the movie, it wasn't my favorite movie, just because I think it was a lot of the point because I was hearing so much good things from everyone else in the class. I know the TAs made a really strong point that it was one of the best movies that they've seen in your class. So I went into it with really high expectations, thinking it was going to be one of the better movies that I've ever seen. But to be honest, it didn't live up to my expectations, and that kind of set the tone for what I kind of thought of the movie going along. Yeah. So, Mr. Reid, I was kind of curious, what was your overall reactions to the film?
Well, this is one interesting thing about it is that it's one of the few films that I show that I'd never heard of until a student told me about it. One of my students, Peyton Atkins, wrote back from college, "Mr. Reid, you've got to show this film, Three Idiots. It's great for young people. It's about following your passion and about the educational system." And when I watched it, I liked it a lot. But it's still, from my personal point of view, it's not in my top 10 or 20 films. Mm-hmm. I think because, well, I should just say why I show it is because I think it's one of the best films for younger people. I mean, I do enjoy a lot about it, but I think it's a particularly good message about school, about starting your life and following things that you have a passion for. So that's why I show it so often, although I like it a lot. I like the mix of moods and genres and the intelligent writing and some of the humor. Some of the humor is a little bit immature or silly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's some like immature humor, like kind of childish stuff, but then there's some really like clever moments. Like,
yes.
With like when Rancho, when he's asked to give the definition of, I forget what it was. I think it was a calculator. Or it might have been a notebook.
Yeah. Or a moving part, maybe.
Yeah, of
a
something
machine.
Like
It was a machine.
Yes. And he gives a simple explanation, and the teacher says, "That's not in the textbook." And so one of the things is to teach people that there's more than just cramming the textbook. There's another scene where he does this whole lesson about how it's not good to just cram and know things from memory, but to use critical thinking, to use your own, sort of the way you're doing when you say, well, I like some of this film, but I don't like all parts of it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's forming your own opinion with critical thinking.
Yeah, and one strong takeaway, like you just pointed out from the film that I did enjoy, was the actual education system that you pointed out, how in India, at some points, a lot of the students felt pressure to get good grades, and if they didn't, then they felt like they were a failure, not living up to the overall kind of standpoint of the whole Indian structure that they were living in. And that was, I think, a really good takeaway that I felt. And I didn't actually know that until you pointed it out in class, which I really felt was something that I connected with and felt good.
Yeah, apparently it was extremely popular in India, and partially because it started a serious conversation about the suicide rates, which were depressingly, they were high, in part because of the pressure of the economic system and the educational system. And this film does show that, so it does have that very serious element about, so many kids who were so stressed out that some of them were committing suicide, and the film tried to speak out about that.
Yeah, that was something I didn't notice actually until we talked about it in your class, and that was something I felt really interested about. So on a lighter note, we can cut to our clip number 2 here, with the All Is Well song that I know is a really lighthearted song, and we kind of really enjoy.
Yeah, it's back in the flashback, so now that's
Yeah.
when they're all in their graduate school studying engineering, and you'll see Rancho in there too. He's sort of teaching them to just relax and just tell your heart that all is well.
Mm-hmm.
जब लाइफ हो आउट ऑफ कंट्रोल होठों को करके गोल होठों को करके गोल सीटी बजा के बोल.
So you like All Is Well?
All Is Well that's one of my favorite parts of the movie, definitely.
Yeah, every year, some students tell me that they put that on their phone so they can listen to it whenever they want.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. Like it's a catchy song. Like the lyrics translated are pretty funny. It's about like a chicken hatching an egg, and like the visuals, like the characters in the shower and then in class and dancing. It's just some zany like madness, and it kind of gives like a whole like actual like feel for how like the whole movie's about to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, whenever I see that clip, it always gets stuck in my head. Like how they're like whistling in the stalls. It's always so funny.
And there's one other big musical number that's more of a romantic theme that, but I think this is usually a little more popular. It's also filmed well. Mr. Dulette's TV production and film students could analyze how well it's cut and certain kinds of special effects.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't good. When was this film made?
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is more like modern shots as
Yeah,
as
relatively.
movies produced.
Well, the Indian film industry is
Yeah.
huge. They've made as many films or more as we have here in America for many decades.
Yeah, that's like another point that you point out always in your classes when you say don't leave out movies made in another language.
Right.
You say so many of the movies are made in so many of the movies that were made in the world, great movies. You're counting them out if you don't. If you
won't
them.
watch black and white
Yep.
films and you won't watch foreign films, you're cutting out about 95% of the great movies ever
Exactly.
made.
The one we just watched in your class, the 400 Blows, that was in black and white and in French, and I enjoyed it. I
Great.
thought it was a good movie about, taught me, didn't really teach me like lessons really, but it just showed me like another perspective of like a kid growing up in France and how tough his life was.
Yeah, and the French New Wave, where directors didn't want to make the same cliche genre films, but they wanted to make a film about whatever they wanted. Like Truffaut wanted to make a film about what it was like when he was young and he got in trouble and had to be sent to military school, and he made a film about it.
Yeah, French films are really good. I really liked in your French film class that I took last year. There were so many great films that I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Madame Aubert, we co-taught it,
Yep.
which was a great experience. I really enjoyed
That
that.
was one of my favorite classes that I've taken all in my media literacy career.
One of my favorite to teach, partially because we've been friends for so many years,
Yeah.
and then we finally got to teach together, which was a lot of fun.
I hope that class can come back at some point.
It might.
Yeah, it's a really good class, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, we can talk. We can see clip 3 at the end. It kind of summarizes the whole movie and kind of shows at the end how it kind of comes up to a sort of conflict where they're trying to birth a baby at the end of the movie, and they're trying to get all of the parts together to make this makeshift hospital. And it really is another, like we said, it's a well-filmed scene. I really enjoy that scene.
Brings all the characters together kind of too.
Yeah, there's one character we haven't mentioned, but his name is Virus. He runs the engineering school, and he doesn't like Rancho. Rancho is too much of a free thinker, and Rancho's in love with his daughter.
Yep.
But then in this scene, Rancho's gotten in trouble for something, and he's about to be kicked out of the university. But then he basically saves this other woman's baby, uses his knowledge to save a baby, and then the head of the college, Virus, forgives him and appreciates that there's more knowledge than just what you read in a book, but it matters to use it and apply it in your own life.
Yeah, the lady giving birth was Virus's other daughter, right?
Yeah, that's right, the sister.
Yeah. So yeah, we can show the clip 3 here for more context.
क्या हुआ?
वो लाइट चली गई है।
अब वैक्यूम क्लीनर कैसे चलेगा?
फरहान हाँ तू वैक्यूम क्लीनर ला मैं लाइट लाता हूँ ओके कैसे मिलीमीटर वायरस को बाहर निकाल जल्दी कम ऑन
चल बारिश बाहर चल बारिश बाहर चल बारिश
अरे ये वायरस नहीं यार अरे मेरा वायरस जो मैंने बनाया था इन्वर्टर वो जल्दी लेके आ जल्दी जा राजू हाँ हॉस्टल में सबको जगह और उनको बोल के कार बैटरी चाहिए वायर्स चाहिए टूल किट चाहिए और वैक्यूम गेज कम ऑन राजेश दीपक बाहर निकलो कॉमन रूम में इमरजेंसी है
In this scene, I liked how Rancho was just, it shows like his brilliance and how he was commanding everyone to do like certain tasks to get it prepared. Because he had like this whole plan in his head of how he was gonna carry the baby out of Virus's daughter. And he just was sending like all his fellow like classmates and other people that were there to go get objects for him so he could perform this miracle. And
Yeah, I always thought that this scene in particular was pretty funny. How they're like shaking the virus and trying to tell him virus that this is nonsense. I always thought that guy was always also pretty funny.
Yeah, Rancho kind of proves his point that you need to follow something you're passionate about and really learn about it, because he knows so much that he gets everybody to do the right thing to save the baby. And that's sort of one of the main messages, is follow your passion. There's one of the other three idiots, so to speak, doesn't want to be an engineer. He's doing that because he thinks he can make the most money that way, but Rancho helps him learn that he wants to be a wildlife photographer. And that, can I tell the story about Logan?
yeah.
I had a student named Logan who actually told me during his senior year that he changed his mind about going into business and banking to make money. He said he always loved nature. And there's plenty of careers in nature, environmental science. So at the last minute he switched, and he went to a college in New Zealand where he had grown up, but now he's in America. And he got to work in the forest and help save nature. And I heard from him just a few months ago that he's very happy he made that choice, and really appreciative that he watched a film that encouraged him to follow his passion. That's what I hope all you guys do. That's why we need the arts. We need these electives. I want to thank you guys for being excited and engaged enough by film to invite me, to come and be on the show, and to thank all Mr. Gillette's students for helping to make the show.
No
Yeah,
problem.
hopefully we can keep producing more episodes, because
Sure.
there's so many great movies
Yeah,
that you show
yes.
that we can cover.
Yeah,
I'll
this
be
is only
happy
the
to come
beginning.
down whenever you,
Oh, yeah.
talking about movies. I love
Yeah.
it.
It's just like another conversation.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
not that different from being in class, except
Oh,
there's
yeah.
three of
It's
us
less
except
people.
20, and not 20 people.
Yeah, that is a really great story about Logan, though.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was so glad to hear that he's still really happy he made that decision in the direction of something he was passionate about.
Yeah, this movie also taught me like not to really like focus so much, like obviously like to focus on school, but it taught me to just have fun and to not really be stressed. Don't let it stress me out too much. To just like not so much focus, but just like get your stuff done and do it right, and then you can have fun after.
Yeah, and it actually isn't saying, oh, don't worry about school. It's saying you'll do better if you go into a field you love.
Yeah.
And it isn't just saying, oh, accept that you're not going to make much money. It's actually saying, if you go where you're passionate, success will follow you.
Yeah.
It's a good theory.
Yeah, so we wanted to thank you for first tuning into this first episode of Movies with Reid, and we hope we can keep producing more episodes. As I said before, there's so many great movies that we can cover here. So maybe we'll leave some suggestions, some great movies that we've seen, and thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
Signing
Thanks.
out.